The next thing that I wanted to look at was this module called So You've Been Chump-Dumped. This is a module that got recommended to me on the Mothership subreddit. Spoilers, you don't want to watch. So let's start with the introduction. After being scammed and ejected into the void of space, you and the other marks lucky enough to have your own vac suits are rescued by a gentle gravity-like force guiding you to a passing research ship. You find it in chaos. What saved your life? How many of the crew are still alive here? What was the Morningstar project? Is there a way off this thing? And just what exactly is that pink mealy paste coating the walls? This one's quite fun because if you're trying to link between sessions, this is something that if your players were thrown out into space for whatever reason that came out as a story point at the end, this could pick it up. Where they slowly get drawn into some sort of other ship and they have to figure out what they're doing on this one. The general idea here is animal research. They've got this carnivorous sponge nicknamed the Morningstar and is able to use its powerful gravitational pulse, the pool, to absorb other test subjects and grow enough to burst its cage 2 days ago and quickly wreaking havoc. So there's some NPCs here alongside some lab animals. And of course, I know that for many people, violence for animals in general, it might be a veil or a line. Here, they've got some suggestions. So you can say that the lab animals are never aggressive, making their effects more like a puzzle. They're a synthetic robot, or they are segments of the Morningstar itself, so that merely pink paste mimicking an animal. Or you could just straight up just change them to being some sort of like strange and unsettling alien creature. So if you're not keen on violence towards sheep, chicken, pig, cat, cow, chimp, lobster, lizard, dog, rat, then yeah, of course you can sort of change these around. So where to start? I think the best thing to start with is opening the pamphlet. This is the background here, talking about the company that it's owned by, studying a genetic capacity to generate a gravitational force between different organisms. So they're aiming at turning animals into imploding bombs that could clear a striking colony. There's some striking colonies in Mothership, Picket Line Tango, and a few others. You've got NPCs, the lab animals, this pink film, the paste mentioned before. None of the survivors were involved in the experiments, so they don't know really what's going on. And then there's a security chief that knew about the emergency broadcast frequency. And then it talks about how the players will arrive at the ship by drifting straight into its hull, clambering along it and gently pulled back in if they lose their grip. They find an open airlock to docking bay 1 being the room number, a severed hand gripping the manual override. Slipping inside, they repressurize it. So this is this sort of rudimentary map. So they come in through here, and then with these locked hallways, you can see how they might be funneled to go check out 7 and then go around 239 or 234 into this direction first. And then we've got vents as well. And then we've got the different rooms. So track what room the Morningstar is in throughout the game. Okay, roll 1d10 to determine its initial location. Re-roll if this is 1. Of course, that's where the players start. Every 10 minutes, roll 1d10, pick a room, determining what they will do over the next 10 minutes. If you rolled a different room than where it is, it will move 1 room closer to the rolled room along any path, somehow circumventing locked doors. Okay, so the Morningstar can't go through locked doors, but I imagine it can use vents. If you rolled the same room it's in, it feeds off screen on escaped lab animals. Mark that as it has fed on the track below. Okay, so this thing evolves. So that's the gaining tension, but I guess the players don't really interact with this until they actually meet it in combat. Mark it as fed on the track and roll or choose an evolution. Oh, it gains. Okay, so it's not in order. Roll the dice. Say it comes back as a 7. Attacks gain anti-armor. I guess penetrating. Cool. That's fun. I haven't seen that before, depending on random rolls for the locations of an enemy, then making it evolve in some sort of way. I might have seen evolutions, but I haven't seen something like this where you roll it and this time it gets piercing, this time it gets 25 instinct. Yeah, that's interesting. So mark it as fed. Evolution gains after it has been fed 5 times. Its pull begins to work on the hull, threatening to tear it open if used in the same room too many times. It gains no more evolutions. Okay, so it can't get crazy. Although I'm sure with 5 evolutions, it's probably going to be crazy. Anyway, after the Morningstar has moved or fed, tell the players that they feel the pull, so this gravitational force, along with anyone else on the ship, a silent, nebulous force that physically draws their body in a given direction. What happens depends on how far away they are from the creature. So if you say the creature was in room 5 and you guys are in room 1, is that it might like push you along into the second room, or at least towards it. If they're in the same room as the creature, they are interrupted by the pull, like a storm wind or sudden fall. They must each body save or be moved 1 range band closer to where the Morningstar now enters the room. So it goes from close to adjacent or something like this. Next room, everyone's inner balance hiccups as the pull causes them to lean or even stumble towards the Morningstar, as if they were being shoved or the floor tilted. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I guess it's like makes people wonder why that might be going on. And then if they're in like some other far room, they feel a soft pull, almost like a gust of wind or a muscle spasm, nudges everyone towards the Morningstar. And then the Morningstar, so this is like the main enemy here, a large wrinkled pink mass, like a shriveled wad of gum. Okay, a product of the company's experiments. Countless little pores dot its surface, expanding and contracting in predictable patterns, offering only glimpses at its black ultra dense core. It's almost like you have to peel off this pink stuff. Would you even realize it's there? It rolls or glides across almost any surface, tracking victims by body heat, pulverizing them, and spraying their remnants out of every pore. Wow. Okay, that's a bit savage. No sensory organs, mouth or limbs, just weighty flesh and endless tiny orifices, one occasionally yawning into an impossibly wide abyss when it pulls in a victim. Feeding grants it even more evolutions. Right, okay. And then it talks a little bit about what happens. So if there's a pull, every creature must body save, deals 2d10 to adjacent, drawing a part of them into a pore and crushing it. That could be nasty. I think people would lose limbs in that situation. Eject. So it vents a pink mist of pulverized flesh, temporarily blinding anyone adjacent, forcing them to make a sanity save and making the ground around it slick with gritty film. Okay. So definitely making it very difficult to get away. So they get pulled adjacent and then making it very difficult for people to get out. Maybe forcing people to do a check here to try and get away and doing it at like disadvantage even. There's also this crush thing that I haven't seen mentioned. Crush must be just a general combat action. And then wounds, 3 wounds and 40 health. So pretty beefy, I would imagine. Pretty tricky to actually kill this thing. And then we've got some NPCs, so they will be around the ship, I imagine. So some ways off, call a corporate shuttle, find the emergency frequency, then go to the bridge, use the controls there to open the docking bay or the cargo bay when the shuttle arrives. Hidden VIP escape pods. So they are in the personal quarters, get key in the garden lab, and increase power in like the engine room. And then cryosleep, get the hand of the CMO. Is it like chief medical officer? I'll find out a little bit later. In the lab, activate cryopods. Okay, very cool. Yeah, so that looks like quite a bit of fun. And I really like the idea of the start where if you're just floating in space, you just end up being drawn in to the ship. And then from there, you have to work out what's going on. And I imagine you can find some things around in the ship, but judging by the fact you're scanned and ejected, so I'm not too sure whether you'd actually have your stuff if you were like ejected by someone else. I would probably play that you don't have a loadout, but you would be able to find a lot of things in there. It could be a cool way to link to some missions and feel like even if the most natural thing for the end of the session is that your players are stuck in space and they're floating around, then that could be a way to draw them back in and have like a good way to tie those things together, especially with that gravitational pull type thing. So yeah, that is So You've Been Chump-Dumped.